everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Spill the Tea 2020. Today, we will have an amazing guest come on that will share her truth, transparency, and testimony on her child molestation experience. This topic may be very triggering to some audiences, so please keep that in mind. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. This is Marian, and welcome to our very first episode of Spill the Tea 2020. I'm so excited that you guys have chosen to join us today. And also, we have a very special guest, Miss Alisha, here, and she is going to join us as we talk about our very first topic today, and we'll be talking about child molestation. All right, so Alisha, before we go in, can you please tell me a little bit, or tell all of us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, well, like she said, I am Alisha White. I am an author, a life coach. I'm a wife, a mother of three. I'm a deacon at my church. And so I'm just here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And especially, you guys, I just talked about the topic and we'll be talking about child molestation. I think it's such an honor that you're able to open up. And I know you do this a lot, but it's an honor that you're able to open up with the Spill the Tea audience about your story. So we're actually going to just jump right in, okay? So before we actually go in and talk about your child molestation situation, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? What was your childhood like?
My childhood started out just like any normal childhood. I was happy, I was smart, I was funny, loved to be around family. My mom, they kept us around family, so we were always surrounded by that. At first, it was just me and my oldest brother, and then I did have two other siblings come along, but we were a close-knit family. We pretty much did everything together. Picnics, swimming, just normal stuff. I was just like the talker of the group.
Okay.
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 So yeah.
All right, that's awesome. So, and I love that backstory because I just want you to know, like a lot of times when you have these situations, children are just, they're fun, they're themselves, they're, funny, they have such a beautiful personality. And then the situation happens where they are sexually abused. And so, can you tell me about your first sexual encounter?
So my first sexual encounter came at the age of 11. My favorite uncle at the time molested me. My very first time actually being left alone. My mom got up and said she was going to go to choir rehearsal. We didn't have any direction, no instructions. It's just like, I'm gone. And so I was nervous. I was scared. Like I said, this is my first time being left alone. I had my two baby siblings with me. The uncle that came to sit with me was an uncle that would come and see me every day anyway. So, of course, I was excited until we got home and he said, "Are you a big girl or are you a little girl?"
Wow.
And I'm here with my baby siblings and I'm like, immediately, I'm a big girl. Oh, okay. And then the television went off.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, let me show you what big girls are doing.
Wow.
And so from there,
but okay, so I want to kind of go into that.
Okay.
So before that happened, before this situation happened when he asked you that question, did you feel anything about this uncle? Like, did you feel any weird vibes before this happened? Like, was there anything that would have showed you that like something is not right with him, or he's taking a special interest in you?
Well, what I will say is that now, of course, that looking back in hindsight, definitely there were something that the flags were there. But because you are a child and because you're following your parents' lead, my parents did allow him to see me every day. And so he became the person in my life that if something happened very exciting to me at school, I couldn't wait to run home and tell him all about it. The one thing that the flag that I always try to make sure that parents are paying attention to is I was a sibling of four. There were four of us. And so there were three other children there, but he made it a mission to come and see me. He affirmed me in ways that, I wasn't being affirmed. He made me feel like I was very, very special. And so it was just, I never would have thought that that would have happened. Um, especially by this uncle. You always think, okay, it's the uncle that you don't see, or it's the uncle that don't be around you.
Right,
But this
right.
was the uncle that I don't care if he didn't get back home till 11 o'clock at night. I'm staying up, I'm waiting for him.
Oh, wow.
And so, and he would come and he would knock. If he wasn't coming home, he would call.
Wow.
Like, we were like close like that. And it shouldn't be a problem for
Right.
for an uncle and a niece to be close like that, which is why my parents they didn't see the flags. There was no red flags in their eyes. So, I mean, because my mom let him in every time he came by, what was I supposed to think?
I actually want us to dive into the actual experience. So, Alicia, could you please go into a little more detail about the experience from the beginning to the end of the experience?
So, like I stated before, I was left alone. He actually came down to sit with us. He, when we moved into the living room, he actually told my siblings that they can go outside and play on the swing set. And from there, that left us in the house. And I'm so excited because my favorite uncle is here, and I get to control the TV. So I got the remote, and so I'm sitting there and I'm like flipping through the TV, and so he asked me the question, like, "Are you a big girl or are you a little girl?" And I mean, my out of shoot response was, "I'm a big girl." And
So I just want to pause at the moment. At that moment, when he told your siblings to go outside and you're inside, your initial emotion was excitement. You're excited, or how you didn't think anything.
I didn't think anything of that. They were at the age to be playing on the swing set.
Yeah.
Actually, my parents had just gotten the swing set, so it's still fairly new. And so, I mean, they was just like, they ran on out, and, and I didn't think anything. Literally, I was sitting in the chair, and so I'm like flipping through the television because, I finally get to have control of the remote control, right? And so I'm excited. He's there. The stress is relieved off of me. So I don't have to worry about what's going to happen next or what I need to do. There's an adult here.
Mhm.
And so before I knew anything, he came and yanked the remote from me. And that was the way that he would play. We would wrestle and tussle all the time. And, so I didn't think anything of that until he asked the question, are you a big girl or a little girl? And I'm like, hey, I'm a big girl. And from there, the television went off. And so I'm sitting there and I'm literally in my mind thinking, okay, he done took the remote, turned off the television, he's playing with me. Mm-hmm. And so he comes over to me and he was like, let me show you, the girls that you hang out at school, let me show you what they do, what they're doing. And I'm just like, okay. At this moment, I still don't know what he's trying to show me. I still don't think that, hey, I am in the hands of a predator. I don't see that. I don't feel that. My mind is not even there. And so before I knew anything, there I was. He was like, stand up. I was standing up. I'm thinking he's about to do some acrobatic flip or something another, because that's what we would do, stuff like that, tumbling and all that kind of stuff. So that's where my mind was with that. But when I did stand up, he immediately like pulled my clothes down and kind of bit me over the side of the chair, and then he just started, like kissing me, in between my legs. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm just like a deer in headlights. I'm like, I know this is not happening. God, please get me out of this, because I knew immediately when my clothes came down that I was in trouble. This is not right. All hose bar is gone. I don't know what this is. I don't know why I'm here. Why is this happening to me? And it took me a minute. Like, I'm like, okay, there was no enjoyment there, but I'm like, okay, what do I do to get myself out of this situation? Because I don't know at this moment. I don't know what to do. What do I say? You know, do I just lay here? Do I fight? What, I don't know. And so I remember like, God, please help me. And so literally like right after I thought that, he kind of he let go, he released my legs, and so he let go. And when he let go, like I'm literally still like leaning back because I don't know, I'm just in shock. Yeah. And so I heard him unzipping, like he's taking his shoes and stuff off. Like he's literally getting ready to go full blown into whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, oh no, oh no, no, no. I got to get out of here. And so I literally jumped up and ran out, pulling my shorts up as I was running. Wow. And so I'm out in the streets hollering, help me, I've been raped, because I don't know the difference between rape and molestation. I'm only 11, but I'm flagging cars down because guess what? I'm back in trouble all over again. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going through the motions of being like, you know what? I got to get help. I got to get, something has to happen. Yeah. And so as I was doing that, people were stopping and they was like, okay, you need to call somebody, you know, and even I ran up the street to go and get my oldest brother, and that even to have that conversation with him, you know, he's playing basketball and I have to get him off the court. But, you know, it's like I'm trying to communicate something that my little mind, I ain't even wrapped around. Like, I don't know what to say to my brother. I don't want to just blurt this out like, hey, I just been raped by our uncle. But I'm like, you know, so the only thing I could think was, you know, mama said you need to come home, like now. Mm-hmm. And so he comes up the street with me. And so now I'm having to, as an 11-year-old, I'm having to tell the story because for one, I'm in trouble and I need some help. But two, I'm having to tell him in a way that this does not set my oldest brother off. Mm. I mean, I mean, it's just, you know, you just couldn't, I mean, the truth is the truth. Right. And so, of course, he goes into the house, goes in and grabs my mom's gun. And he was like, you know what, you got about 5 minutes to get your butt from out here. Yeah. Like, I'm about to start popping. And I mean, me and my brother are like 6 years apart. Mm-hmm. So he's still fairly young. Mm-hmm. But he knows enough to know we in trouble. Yeah. And you don't need to be here with all of that. So yeah. I don't know what to do. So I get on the phone, I call my aunt, and she has to make the 20-30 minute drive from Baton Rouge all the way to Zachary to come and get me. But from that point, I was instructed not to go and use the bathroom, not to take a bath. And so now I have to sit there the entire time with his saliva on me, feeling disgusting, feeling nasty, feeling just like trash. And so what made it even worse, by the time they get there, my aunt tells my oldest brother to take the other kids in, lock the door when my parents get there, let them know where we are, all of that. But we get to the hospital and she walks up and they say, okay, who are you checking in? And they're like, you know, I'm checking in my niece. Well, what's going on? Oh, she just been raped. And I'm just like, okay, so now everybody in this small town knows exactly what has just happened. Right. I mean, we're in the small town. Zachary was very rural at the time when I was growing, when I was there. And so, you know, that spread like wildfire. Wow. And so at 11, you know, I have to tell the doctors, I got to tell the nurse, I have to tell people that I don't know. And so they immediately get me changed out of my out of my clothes into my gown. And I'm like, okay, I think my clothes have come off enough for today.
Something that I really want to know, Alisha, is what was the day after like? So that day after, you woke up in the morning, and what were you thinking? How were you feeling? What was that like at 11 years old?
Well, what I will say is the day that it happened, it was almost like a death. Like I died. So the next day I was not the same. The night that it happened, no one So when we got home from the hospital, mind you, my parents, my dad and my mom had to come and find me at the emergency room. My dad made it there first, and he really just didn't know any of the words to say. He did ask me, what happened. I did share it with him. But by the time my mom got there, I was like, I was done with that story. I'm not, that's it. But when we got home, she asked, "Are you okay?" And at 11 years old, I don't know how to compute to tell you, um, you left me. I you just left me. I don't know how to put those into words. And so the very next morning, one of my other uncles came by, which is also my dad's brother, and he had just gotten a new car and he took my baby sister for a ride. And I literally almost tore the screen door off the hinges. Wow. Because I didn't want her to go. I did not want her to, like, I was just, I'm like, have y'all learned anything? Do y'all see what has happened to me? And so because no one said after the night that it happened, "Are you okay?" Because no one said, "Hey, I'm here if you ever want to talk." Because no one said, "Hey, I got you." Because no one said that, it would transpire a whole heap of things that I would have to carry with me. Anger and rage became my middle name. After that, like literally, I went to bed that night. Um, that day I got up, that morning that it happened, I got up a happy-go-lucky little girl. And by the end of the night, I died. Like spiritually, like my soul was crushed. I no longer had the person that was in my life to share things with. And then here's my mom that has never said, "I'm sorry for even leaving you." And so I carried everything on my back. It was all about me. I had to take care of me, just like I had to do that day. Like I knew I just had to do it for myself. I didn't have anybody else. There was no therapy. Now, my mom did make sure that, she went and prosecuted him, and he is, in fact, on the sex offender registry. He did go to jail. He did do some time, but no one told me, "I got you." No one said, "If you ever need to talk, I'm here." No one said any of those things to me. And it was almost like, if we don't talk about it, then she'll be fine. But not talking about it made my situation a whole lot worse. Because every time after that, anytime something happened, anytime I was told no, anytime I didn't get something, that little 11-year-old girl showed up, and she'll wreck shop. Yeah. Like really wreck shop.
So if you were to go back to after it happened, what do you wish? Like, I know you said you wish somebody would have asked you how you were. You wish somebody would have truly checked on you. What do you wish would have happened?
That's what I wish would have happened, because I needed to cry. I needed to get that out. But because no one talked about it, I was made to sit there, not talk about it because nobody else is talking about it. I don't know how to bring it up. Yeah. You got to think about it. I don't even, when it happened, I go to the hospital. The whole time I'm saying, "Hey, I've been raped." And I learned at the emergency room that, no, you were not raped. You were molested. And I'm thinking, you don't even realize, yeah, I've been raped. I've been robbed from a whole lot of stuff. He literally came in and took a whole lot of stuff from me. And so it took me forever and a day to try to build that back up. But I had to do my work, because I just wasn't, no one was there to help me to do that. I was not able to, no one helped me to piece those things together. No one said, "Okay, when you're feeling bad or when you're having a bad day, I'm here, come to me." No one said that. So every day was a bad day, because I knew that there would be no one there to console me. And as far as the relationship with my mom, that was just completely in the toilet. Like, I didn't trust her. I didn't respect authority. I didn't respect her. And it got to the point, as I got older, it just started building up, and I remember at 13 it was just like, you know what, I ain't getting no whoopings no more. Don't think about punishing me. You got me, I'm just here. So I mean, I literally was feeling at 13 like I was my own grown woman.
Yeah.
And so when my mama would tell me things, I would just adamantly say, no, I'm not doing that. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. And so when she would come towards me with a belt, it was literally, you know what, I got to fight for myself. Because I was left that day, I had to fight for myself. And so I ultimately began fighting with my mom at 13. Like, some women in the street. And I'm fighting everywhere I go. School, I don't respect authority. So I don't want no teacher telling me nothing. I'm here. Yeah. But my nature, who I am, who I was before that, had nothing to do with anger and rage. Wow. But the entire time, because there was no one there to help me, to console me, I hated living. I wanted to die. Mm-hmm. I had suicidal moments all the time. And because even when I would act out and have those suicidal moments, I still didn't have nobody to say, hey, I'm here. I was told, you know what, this girl is crazy. She needs a check. We need to lock her up in mental institutions, things like that. And I'm just like, and they actually succeeded one time and had me. And like, I literally was in a mental institution.
And how old were you at that time?
I must have been about 16, 17, somewhere along there. Wow. But I remember having to go to sleep that night. I just don't think my parents understood, because when I got there, they literally walked me into a shower, said take off your clothes, you have to shower. So this lady is standing here while I have to get completely naked, shower, and I'm already, I'm a sexual abuse individual. I'm a victim. And I mean, at every corner in my mind, I'm like, you're just tearing me down. You're tearing me down. Yeah. It's because I just didn't have no outlet. I didn't know what to say if I had the voice to say it. Yeah. And so,
you at the time, you faulted your parents for that, because they should have been there. They should have really been your voice for you, because at 11 years old, you don't really have the language, and they should have really consulted you to understand how you felt, so they can be able to truly communicate that for you. They should have, I know at the time you felt like they really should have been there, and they should have been that voice for you, but they were silent.
Yeah. Well, and every time I tell this story, because I've completely forgiven my parents. They weren't just like horrible parents, like, I hear stories all the time where parents or, women are like, okay, yeah, I mean, for a rock, you can have my daughter. That was not my situation. That was not but I need people to understand that you can look over into my situation and be like, oh, well, what you went through was absolutely nothing. That's big to me.
Right.
It's major to me in my life.
And it changed you.
And it changed me tremendously.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself alone, scared, and disturbed emotionally because someone chose to walk away with your innocence? Well, this is what I had to endure. At the age of 11, I was molested by my favorite uncle, which left me with a lot of issues: abandonment, anger, rage, suicidal thoughts. For years, I've let those emotions control me. However, I survived.
Through forgiveness of self, I learned how to grow, heal, become, and evolve. I now speak for the young girl that may be lost like I was. Here is the path to forgiveness. Here is my unspoken truth.
All right, everyone, and welcome back. This has been such amazing, insightful conversation that we have been having with Miss Alisha. And so now we're going to talk about her healing process. What was that like for her, forgiving her parents and just walking through this journey of your experience? So, Alisha, can you tell us a little bit about your healing process? Where did it start?
It started in church. It started with me building my faith. It started with me having the conversations with God. by myself. But I was able, it wasn't until I became a mom that I realized that there's a lot of trial and error when you have a child. There's no instruction manual that would give you verbatim what you're supposed to do with a child. When they cry, you don't never know what you got to try a couple of things to get to the root of why they're crying. And so I had to realize that my mom and dad did not, even though they did fail me, they didn't do that deliberately. They really were genuinely good people. It's just that sometimes you just never know when there's a predator lurking, and so I've learned, even with my own babies, to just make sure that I'm watching them extra close. And we've even had some issues to where somebody has come over and tried to be that guy. Like, okay, you just set your sights on my baby girl. Like that dog is not going, it ain't gonna fly. It's just not. And so we've done all of that. But when you become a mom, you get to see, okay, yeah, okay, I failed. I got that wrong in that moment. Doesn't make me not, less than a good mom. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm still a loving parent to all three of my children. And I think that that's where I started my healing, because for me, it took everything in me. Like, I always wanted to hear my mom say to me, I'm sorry for leaving you. And as I began to go and see, it wasn't until I actually went back and sat down and had a rationalized conversation instead of hooping and hollering, crying and screaming, to where, okay, because when you do that kind of stuff, when you come off aggressively, you have to know that's what you're going to get in return.
Right.
And so I sit down and I have this conversation, I'm crying and I'm just like, all I've ever wanted to do was hear you say, I'm sorry, and even though she was out of her comfort level for doing that, she still, stepped outside of herself and said, I don't know why you thought I didn't love you. I've always loved you. You are mine. I love you, and I'm so very sorry. If I could take that day back, I would. And that closed the gap in my heart that I had. And I remember one day at work, she called and she didn't get me on the line, so she texted me. And I was just blown away because my mom was not a nurturing parent. She just didn't get that. As a child, she was one of 13, a baby of 13 kids. And so she just said, I called to tell you I love you. I realized I hadn't said that in a while. And that to me was like, okay, Miss 11-year-old, you go on off to college now.
Yeah.
You're done. You've graduated, you've done. And so even though the healing process did not just stop there, there's still, more layers to that, because you gotta know after, you've been, having all kind of anger, rage, and you done tore the house up and all this kind of stuff, you gotta know that there's still some stuff that's there. Okay, so now you gotta go back and you gotta apologize, but you also have to say, hey, please forgive me, because I was just angry and I was filled with rage because, I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. And there's a lot of people that just don't know how to put that into words. And so I'm here to do that for them. I speak for the little girls and for the little boys. I speak for them because people don't realize we have a whole lot of people in the prison system because of unresolved issues from their childhood. And, I refuse to be a statistic. I didn't want my babies to become a statistic. So I made sure that, at every turn, I'm affirming them, hey, I love you. I love you. Even when I get off the phone, hey, I love you. I'll see you later. Yeah. Hey, I'm affirming my babies because I feel like had I gotten that affirmation from my parents, I maybe wouldn't have been so excited to jump in my uncle's arms or to, look for him and tell him all of my, my secrets and things like that.
But, so you feel like the healing started, really with you forgiving your parents.
Yeah.
And once you really did that, they kind of opened up and to allow you to really forgive yourself in a way of, of maybe how you responded, all of that, that's all you knew. Just like the way your parents responded was all they knew.
Correct.
You know, you had to go into forgiving yourself because you did some things to yourself
Mm-hmm.
as a result of that. And,
Yeah.
And so after you forgave your parents, it really opened up that just avenue for you to begin to heal yourself. And my question is, when do you think that healing stops? Do you think it is continual? Like, is it something where people get to a point where it's like, okay, you should be over this?
Okay. I will definitely say, I hate to hear people say, you know, oh, okay, well, you know, it's been X amount of time, get over it, you should be over this by now. The thing about that is that there's different levels of healing. I think there's still more healing that, you know, even myself and my family, we still have to do, only because, like I stated before, you have to know, you know, every time an argument or every time something comes up, they look for me to go off.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, I've heard my mom even say, well, you know, I'm not going to say nothing because she's going to get mad. And, you know, and I'm just like, hey, I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change your perspective as to how you see me.
Right.
Because I don't want to be that, I'm no longer that person.
Right.
You know, now, you know, I respond differently. Some days, you know, if she's saying something that, you know, I think it's just like I would have gone off back in the day. It's just like, you know what, okay, I'm gonna hang the phone up or I'm gonna leave, you know, because I'm not gonna do that, because I want us to stay and remain in a loving space. And even now with all that's going on, all that has happened and all that's going on, even with my own children, it's just like, you know what, I'm removing myself from those situations because, you know, I don't trust the fact that, you know, I know I sent the little 11-year-old off, but I don't trust the fact that she just may show back up.
Yeah.
And so I have to remain in adulthood at all times, even with my kids, even with my parents, because, you know, I don't want you to think that, you know, I'm just, you know, I'm still full of rage, because I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy. They see me smiling now.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was something that I didn't do when I was younger. And I remember my dad always saying that, you know, it takes more, you're using more muscles in your face to make a frown than a smile. And I'm like, okay, you know, now when I catch myself frowning, it's like, oh no, let me smooth the wrinkles out on my forehead, because that's not somewhere I'm trying to be.
I think it's really beautiful too, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but what you're showing is it's a progression. Like,
it is.
It takes time. It's literally baby steps. It's every day. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how many years have passed. You still have to be very intentional, because that 11-year-old very well may come back.
Yeah,
you know, these memories, they don't, you may not remember them maybe sometime, but they don't go away.
Yeah.
You know, you may go a day without necessarily thinking about it,
right.
You know, or 2 days or maybe a week, but the memories are always still there.
They are still there, and you have to realize that they are not just still there with you, but they're still there with your family members.
Alisha, that was such an amazing story. I loved how you just walked us through this journey of your experience and your journey of healing. And as we're talking about this journey, you guys, I want to highlight this book. Alisha wrote an amazing book called Unspoken Truth. And if you want to hear more about what she talked about today in more detail, definitely grab this book. Her book was an Amazon best-selling author for over a month. That is amazing. That is so amazing. So just tell us a little bit about your book and
it walks you through my entire journey, and it tells you where I started from, and where I am today. The book was actually on the bestsellers list. I was, you know, a little worried when Joyce Meyer's book came out, but her book came out like maybe a week or two after my book, and it still remained on the bestsellers list.
Wow.
And that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I got to get Joyce Meyer's book.
Wow.
And yeah, but it stayed on the bestsellers list. And so people are getting healed and set free. This book talks about sexual abuse, but it also has a whole lot of tidbits in it about how to keep your baby safe. It's literally like a blueprint as to what parents need to be doing, what they need to be watching out for, how to keep your baby safe, what you need to inform them of, and different things like that. It has a whole lot of good tutelage in it for you to make sure that your babies don't become a victim. But if that is something that has already happened, it also tells you, it's also for the family members of how to help to support your loved one that has gone through this. Because, we definitely need the support. We can't, I went through this alone, and it wasn't it wasn't something that was very, very easy for me. It was very, very hard. And so I wrote the book because, God wanted me to show the world that, there is life after sexual abuse. And I am just like hanging from the rafters, excited about where the book has been and where it's taken me. Different interviews. I've been all in Dallas, Texas, doing different things, and it's just been an amazing, thing to have in my life. I get to put best-selling author under my belt, and I absolutely love it. But the thing I love the most is people are being healed and set free and delivered like I am. So I speak for the individuals that don't have the voice to speak for themselves. I'll tell you exactly how a victim feels when they go through these things. So you need to understand that they're not just, rebelling just to say I'm rebelling. It also, you get to see, your child was a happy-go-lucky child today, and then all of a sudden, they jumping and doing different things that you just like, okay, this is so out of the norm. You need to sit down and have a conversation, because a lot of times predators say, tell the victims, you tell, I'm going to kill you, or you kill your family, and things like that. I'm always reminded of the Maya Angelou story. I think the poem was why I did the cage bird scene. And the thing about that is that, when she was young, she was raped by a mother's boyfriend, and he only did 1 day in jail, but the next day he was found beat to death. And so she felt as though she had killed someone, her voice. And so she stopped talking for a couple of years. And, eventually God gave her voice back. And when she, as Maya Angelou, when she got her voice back, we couldn't stop her from talking.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, no more clipped wings here.
Yeah.
I've been sore.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Alisha. It has been an honor to be able to just hear your story and be able to just sit in this room with you. I'm so grateful to have you today. And thank you guys so much for watching our first episode of Spill the Tea. Make sure you go on Amazon and grab Alisha's book, Unspoken Truth. All right? Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of Spill the Tea.